first day of our Boundary Waters trip. We're on Snowbank Lake. This is our first lake. We've been on it for about 15 minutes. We're approaching the north end of Snowbank, and we'll be doing our first portage of the trip. We finished our first set of portages, so we are off of Snowbank and on to Boot Lake after a series of 2 portages. We had a little bit of lumpy water on the second half of Snowbank, so there was no excitement, but it was a little bit of a roller coaster effect the second half of the northern end of Snowbank. We're still on Boot Lake, having beautiful clouds on this lake. We've really been impressed with the variety of clouds that we're seeing. Some pretty fluffy ones, some that have a little bit more of sass to them, but lots of gorgeous clouds on this lake. So we have almost finished the portage between Haven and Abinjodi, which is one of the ones that we were probably dreading the most. We've gotten the 2 boats and most of the packs at the Abinjodi side. We've come back to Haven to pick up the 2 remaining large packs. We found some wonderful blueberries as we were doubling back for the second trip that almost make it worth climbing that hill a second and about to be third time worth it. They were really sweet, delicious blueberries. So we're on Abinjodi now. It's a beautiful little lake. There is one campsite on this lake. It's right over there. It's a campsite that we would kind of have liked to have taken at this point in the day, since it's early afternoon now, and we started at 7 this morning, but we're not going to get it, so we will keep on going towards Jordan. But I'm very impressed with Abinjodi. It's a beautiful little lake. So we just left Gibson Lake. We're on the portage now to Cadyman. Cadyman is well known for having a pretty waterfall that runs along the portage, which I think we're here in the background right now. Can't quite see it from here, but it sounds very impressive. Oh, hello. Another happy camper here. So we have arrived at the end of the portage at Jordan. So I am back on Lake Jordan after a 10-year absence. But I want to recapture all of my fond memories associated with Lake Jordan from our 2013 Boundary Waters trip. After a rather lengthy search for a campsite across 3 or 4 different lakes on our route, we landed on one in Ima that we decided we were going to have to. It was almost 5 o'clock in the evening, and we were going to have to take whatever we could get. However, I think we are fairly happy with this campsite. It has a very pretty lake view of Ima, a decent landing, an area to swim. The campsite was actually quite pretty before we got here and exploded in every direction all over the fire pit area. And we are having dinner right now, cooked by Chef Ben and sous chef Dean over here. And dinner consists of macaroni and cheese with bacon bits and crispy fried onions. And it is very good. Thank you, chefs.
But I tasted a little bit.
Yeah.
Get it up just a little bit more.
So we don't quite have our tent set up yet, but you can see the view from our window here. So it's day 2 of our boundary waters trip. We're on our campsite at Ima that we're still very happy with this site. And since we're not moving today, we've decided to do one of the more complicated breakfasts from day 3 instead of the normal day 2 quick oatmeal breakfast. So Chef Blay is starting that process. We are having pancakes with homemade maple syrup. Morning, we've gotten set up our canoe table here and gotten the breakfast items and cooking items kind of spread out in a little bit more logical order, and reclaim some of our sitting space on the logs. So camp looks a lot more orderly today than it did after our arrival and difficult travel day yesterday. It's day 3 of our trip. We are packing up our campsite on Lake Ima and loading the boats. Our goal for today is to get to the north side of Disappointment Lake and find a campsite there and set up. We're re-entering the channel between Jordan and Ima, which is one of my favorite stretches of this trip. This channel is just beautiful.
Hi, Mom.
Wow, that's a nice close-up.
You've been to It's a lot like
So for all of our viewers at home, please thank Way for doing all of the paddling, because I'm not doing anything right now focused on filming.
It's camera work.
So we have just finished the portage from Cattleman to Adventure, and we've stopped for a water break before we get on the water again on Adventure. We're just coming off Lake Jitterbug now, and don't know that I like any lake that has the word bug in it, but it was kind of a pretty lake. Lots of lily pads, lots of friction while we were paddling. And at the end of the portage from Jitterbug, we are just launching now onto Ossip. So we just cleared the Ossip shallows and we're now in Ossip Lake itself. And we are on Lake Disappointment now and in search of a campsite. The water is very refreshing this afternoon. We think that the wildfire smoke has reduced the amount of sunshine that we've been getting, and the water's not quite as warm as we were experiencing on the other lakes, but still a nice afternoon in the water.
There's us, Brian.
So after a rather frustrating and difficult search on Lake Disappointment, we gave up finding a decent campsite there and backtracked to Lake Ossip and got a site that we had kind of seen from a distance as we were crossing Ossip earlier today. So just sitting here in front of the grate, we've got one of the most spectacular lake views I've seen in the Boundary Waters. Tell us your architectural strategy here.
I'm trying to get the rope between the two trees, tying a knot in the middle for the bear bag to go halfway, and then trying to find two sturdy branches high enough in the tree that can support the food pack.
Okay.
So, but it's hard because there's not a lot of good branch options because a lot of these trees are really dead looking.
We don't have a lot of cooperative trees at this campsite. There's not any obvious candidates for bare trees. On our 2017 trip, I think you were scurrying up a tree just like this near on the Gunflint Trail trip.
Hey, look at that! I think that's good enough, right?
Yay!
It's not perfect.
Yay! It looks great. Okay, so fresh off of his bear bag hanging success, Chef Ben here, along with sous chefs Dean and Wei, are working on dinner. Tonight's dinner is a fusion menu, a combination of Louisiana red beans and rice with some hints of Ukrainian borscht. It's Tuesday morning. It's day 4 of our Boundary Waters trip. We're still in our campsite on Ossip. The morning view is just as beautiful as the afternoon and evening view was. The sun is looking very yellow orangish for morning time, and there's a lot of haze in the air. So once again, we suspect that we're being influenced by Canadian wildfires. We're planning to camp for 2 nights at Ossip, but we decided today to to do some day paddling just in the immediate Ossip area. And one of the things we wanted to check out was the Old Pines Trail, which crosses the portage between Disappointment and Ossip. And there's supposed to be a campsite on it for people through hiking that trail. We're finding lots of blueberries on the trails around here. We came at the right time of year. We are giving the bears a real run for their money, kind of competing for blueberries. Yeah. Ooh, yummy.
Throw the Dean! Throw the Dean!
Uh-oh. This is too easy. Way and I are both in the middle.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I'm dying. So I think we've tired out most of our football players from earlier today. The sun's come back out and the lake has just gotten beautiful. So Dean, have you had any animal encounters on this trip?
Yeah, actually, it was on Ima Lake. I was sitting out on a rock, and my spirit guide animal came out to meet me. It was two big beavers swam up on a rock about 10 feet from where I was sitting. They turned and looked at me, and one of them stood up on his back haunches, and then for about 10-15 seconds, and then the two of them ambered into the woods, grabbed a aspen branch and drug it and swam across the lake. So definitely a fantastic encounter with my spirit creature, and they were telling me, hey, all's okay.
So Ben, any particular memories about this trip that you'd like to share?
Well, on day one, we were at Swing Lake at the portage there, and as I was carrying the canoe, the people before us had mentioned it was a little muddy, and as I was getting towards the end of the portage, there was a bunch of planks, wooden planks, along the end of the portage, and in front of one of the longest planks there was a little bit of mud, and I took a step off the plank with the canoe on top of my shoulders into the mud, expecting it to be maybe just a couple inches deep, and it was a good 5 feet deep up to my neck. So the canoe was above me, just like where my head would be, and then I was like level in the neck with the muck, and just muck everywhere.
Yuck, scary.
Paul and Dean helped lift off the canoe, and then I crawled out of the muck onto the plank, and we made it on, and that was a rough start to the trip.
Thank you. Paul, how was the fishing on this trip?
It was something else, let me tell you. We had a couple of interesting experiences, didn't we?
Yep, so we went fishing, I believe, the second night, and we were out fishing on the canoe, and we'd been going for maybe close to an hour without anything, and Paul threw his lure into the water, and as he was pulling it in, there was this huge fish, at least 2 feet long, northern pike likely, and it almost went for the lure, and then just as he was pulling it in, it saw the canoe and diverted away quickly.
It stopped and took a pretty quick look at us and decided we were not what they were interested in, and took off.
Oh.
But the day was not totally a loss, because I did manage to get in the boat one fish, and so that was a celebration, even if it was not exactly the size we had in mind. In other words, it was about the size of my hand, and little rock bass, right back in it went to the lake.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's day 5 of our Mountain Waters trip. We're in camp on Lake Gossip. We break camp today and paddle back to Snowbank and go into Ely for one more night before heading home. The lake here is, as always, just beautiful. It is like a mirror this morning. There is not a ripple in the surface of the water. Well, we've got one portage under our belt and probably our longest lake traversal today under our belt. We are now at the west end of Disappointment, and we're about to take the portage over here towards Parent Lake, and from Parent we'll take another portage into Snowbank and then back to where we started on Saturday morning. We are having our snack break here while we stop, so I think the menu today is Kind bars, leftover cookies from yesterday. Looks like there's dried fruits in there. Oh, and gummy bears. Gummy bears are always a good way to start a portage. Okay, so we're not desperate for food by any means, but